Welcome back to Unlocked Crafts. Sorry I've been away for a while, but my computer went down and we had to wait to be able to buy a new one. Today I am doing two things. One is pens, the sublimation pens from Amazon, and I'll post the link down in the bottom. And I also am going to show you a tumbler that I'm doing and how to accomplish both items. So stay tuned. Since my camera that's pointing downwards don't want to work, these pens are the ones that I posted a little while ago. You get them in a pack of, I don't remember how many, but I decided to try one before I went live with this. This happens to be Dragon, something my brother picked out, and I tried it on a pen and it works great. So I'm going to go from beginning to end. Alright. Now, like I said, they come in a pack of like 10. I've only used one so far. You take the little paper out, it's not even closed. You take the pen apart. My down camera is not working today. It's just a screw-in sort of thing. So you take that out. And there is a slot on the white part. You take that off. And you have this left. Do not use this in the oven. It'll melt. This is the metal thing that we're using for the sublimation process. This is... for anybody that wants to know the parameters, first of all, I use Cricut. I use Cricut for everything because it's simpler for me and I understand it a lot better than I do Silhouette. So this is for the width diameters and the length diameters, 4.72 in width by 1.584 in length is perfect for this pen. Now, because like I said, my down camera is just frozen. I don't know why. This is one image I decided to do. And this is the other one. So let's work with this one first. Of course, we all know, or we should know, that the image goes against your substrate. And this pack also comes with sleeves for the pen. And you roll it as tight as you can possibly roll it. And I use the heat tape from Amazon. And I even got the tape dispenser, so I actually got jiggy with it. It makes it a lot easier. I fold the tape with a little tag so that's easier to peel when it comes to taking off the picture. So I'm rolling it and I'm tightening it as I'm rolling the pen. Once I have it as tight as I possibly can get it, I just had the doggone, oh, it fell. Of course it did. Feels like a Tuesday, although it's not. Now I got a longer piece than necessary, but I like to do that. Anyway, just to make sure I have enough, because I don't want to come up short. So I'm going to wrap it around the pen like so. Now you can wrap it in the same spot, or you can go like around and at an angle so that you can wrap your pen pretty good. Yeah, and I put 2 strips of this tape on there, so I have each end taped pretty well down. I do the same thing on the other end, making sure that it's still tight. And the image is going to be a little bit longer than really necessary, but I like to make sure that it covers everything, so I make it a little longer than it's supposed to go. But the size that they tell you on the site is a little short, so I like doubled it, and it seems to work for me. And we're just going to wrap that tape around there. And they give you a pack of heat tape, shrink wrap rather, that you can take out of the little package. It's all in a little little package here. And it's about from end to end. I don't know if this will focus on that. Oops, sorry guys. Oh, and I have it upside down. Sorry, I didn't realize that. I usually do have it upside down. It's a little over. Oops, sorry. It's a little over. It's just under 5 inches according to this. But like I said, my perfect size for me, that works for me, is 4.72. So there is a dotted line on this sleeve where you can tear it when you get done heat press or putting it in the oven. Put it in the oven at 350 for 2.5 minutes. Turn it, and then another 2.5 minutes, and it works perfectly. Now if I can get this thing open, I'll be good. Oh, come on. Sorry guys, this is always a problem for me. And this is a good thing for tweezers. Put your tweezers inside, or maybe half out. There we go. Come on. Open. I always have problems with stuff like this because my fingers are fat and it doesn't want to open for me. But once you get it going, it's fine. There we go. You know, there's a dotted line. You can't see it because it's a white wrapper and the dotted lines aren't very dark, but you'll be able to see it if you decide to buy this product. So I use my tweezers to get this opened just enough to get my pen in there. There we go. Let's see if we can get that tweezers to come out. There, what? And there you cover the whole image. It covers the whole image, the whole pen. And then you heat gun it, and it'll tighten around the pen. Then you throw it in the oven for 2.5 minutes. Turn it, and then heat it for another 2.5 minutes. And then it's done, and you take off your shrink wrap and your subli paper, and it's done. I'm going to go ahead and roll another one since I'm going to do 2 of these today. Like I said, you just unscrew the little nut. It fully came out, but that's okay because you're going to be putting it back together anyway. And this is the other half of it. And we're going to roll this one too. I'm going to put both of them in there at the same time since I have a lot of space in this oven. I can do that. Now I'm not going to put the cup in there at the same time as the pens because the cup has to go in for a longer period of time. And I'm not going to mess, I don't want to mess that part of it up. So I'm going to do the same thing. Now, I haven't done words with this yet, but I know you can, according to the videos on the Amazon website. You can do it. I just haven't done it yet. I just wanted to try it real quick and see how it worked, and it works really nice. I don't know why this down camera's not working. I'm gonna get with my husband when he has 2 seconds. Ha! As if he can. He doesn't have a lot of time sometimes. Okay, so we wrap that around tight. Make sure it's tight. And I'm going to do the other end. Excuse me, like I said. I'm going to do each end pretty much like that. No, ooh, that way it's nice. Oops. It's not nice and tight if it comes off. Or if you're backwards with it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do the middle too, because I kind of let that slip a little bit. So I'm going to tighten that up as well. And hopefully that will fix it enough so that it's right on top of the pen the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so we put the heat tape on around the image that's attached to the pen. I don't have tape touching the pen at all. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I took my tweezers that I used for my rice mosaics, and I opened it so we can get the pen in there. And there's, like I said, there's a dotted line. And I'm going to try to line that up with the slit in the pen. Doesn't have to be. Just makes your life easier. Inside the shrink wrap. Woohoo! Now those are the 2 pens I'm going to be doing in a minute. But since I still have your attention, I am going to go ahead and do a 20-ounce sublimation thing. 20-ounce tumbler. And like I said, I don't know why my downward camera is not working at the moment, but it's not. So of course, we all know it depends where you get your tumblers from, what size you want to do your tumbler wrap on. But my parameters for mine, if I can get my mouse to work, is 9.526 and 8.411. Now this is for a Christmas exchange, so I just decided to do this. Of course, we take off the lid, and of course you should know that the image has to go against the tumbler, otherwise it's not going to work. And I look to see where the white, because there's always going to be a little bit of a white strip on your print, so I put that on top of the paper. This is the white. There's just a very little, there's a very little bit of white along the edge of this, so I always make sure that it goes on top of where my seam would be. And of course, I don't tape onto the tumbler at all, because then you'll mess up your tumbler, and you don't want that. And you try to get it as straight as possible. I usually stand it up and do, well, of course, it doesn't like to behave today. I'm going to sit back here a little bit so you can see a little bit of what I'm doing, since my camera doesn't want to work. Just to keep it in place for a minute, I just put a piece of tape on both sides just for a second, so I can make sure that everything is tight. And then I take one and I'll run it down the whole seam, both directions. And then I'll make sure that it's really, really tight. And then I'll put shrink wrap on that. And I always fold over an edge so I can pull it really nicely when I'm pulling the shrink wrap off. And I'll do the same thing with the shrink wrap, is fold out down a part of the tape. Now what I'm gonna do, is I tape down a little bit of what is already being held down by the first piece of tape that I have, and I'm gonna loosen just a little bit the first piece and tighten it again just to make sure that it's really nice and tight, and put that down, and then run my fingernails, because I do have nails, sometimes, up and down it to make sure that it is totally creased there and able to rock and roll when I'm ready. And there's the tape right there. Now if it moves on the cup, that means it's probably too loose. So mine loosened up a little bit because I could feel it moving. So I'm going to try that again. Because it was too loose, it moved. So I'm going to try this again, guys. Because it moved when I did that. And then of course, today's not my day. Are you sure today's not Tuesday? I'm having a Tuesday day on a Friday. Alright. Sorry about the delay there. But I like to make sure it's nice and tight. Otherwise your seam is going to, not only is you're going to have seam problems, but you will have image problems where it ghosts in certain places if you don't make sure that this is really tight. Okay, and I was messing around with an idea the other day, so I have shrink wrap on my desk so I don't have to go chase it down. And my cooking time and temperature is, first and foremost, 300, for me it works 350 degrees for, I have everything on my clock here. Let's see, that one is 6 minutes and 45 seconds for my oven. Every oven is going to be a little bit different depending on if your heat is working the way it's supposed to or not. And for me, that is perfect time, perfect temperature for my tumblers. Now for coffee cups, because they're porcelain, well, they're not porcelain, they're ceramic. For the sublimation ceramic coffee cups, it's the same temperature, but the time is longer. It's 13 minutes and, what is it? 13 and a half minutes for the baking of the ceramics. If you're trying to do a full wrap, I don't know why I did it that way. Now for the shrink wrap, I will go the opposite way, because that way keeps everything in place, and it's going to be tight when I shrink wrap it. Hold on a minute, there we go. Okay, so the first piece of tape is going to go against your A sub paper, or whatever paper you're using. You don't have to use A sub, but I do, and I find that it works for me. And I'm going to tighten that as tight as I can tighten that as well, like I did with the image against my tumbler. And of course my tumbler just came unrolled. And I'm still going to do the tape folding thing if I don't throw it out first. Okay, so I'm going to roll this again. And as I'm rolling it, I'm keeping it tight. It's the best way I can think of to do it. So, and it works. The coffee cups are a whole different mess. So I'm hoping that I can get Chuck to fix the camera that faces downward so you can actually see what I'm doing, rather than me having to fight with it while I'm holding it up. And of course, I'm going to do the same thing I did before, and I'm going to wrap the tape around it. And I'm going to make a little hitch, or whatever you guys want to call it. I'm going to fold over the tape so it's easier to pull when it's done. Now, for me to shrink wrap, I go ahead and shrink wrap at the temperature of 550 degrees on this heat gun. So I'm going to turn it on, turn it down to 550. It gets pretty hot. The shrink wrap's going to get really hot when you handle it like this. So I'm going to shrink wrap my pens first, just like this. That's one. Looks like a little cigar. Woo, it's hot too. That heat coming out of that heat gun is smoking hot. Yeah. Now for the tumbler, you want to do your ends first. It doesn't matter what end you decide to do first. And then you can do the rest of it. Make sure everything is heated so you don't have any bubbles in the shrink wrap. If you have a bubble in the shrink wrap, it's not going to work right. Your image is not going to turn out right. Stay. Alright. I'll find my other heat gun later. That's what I always say, later. Then I shrink wrapped on the bottom first, and then the top. It doesn't matter which way you go on that. And then you shrink wrap around the cup, making sure that you don't have any bubbles in your shrink wrap. Okay? Now, the pens take the littlest of time, but my oven's not in this room. It is in the other room. So I'm gonna cook these, and then I will post pictures of these on this video so you guys can see how they turned out. Okay, this is part 2. I'm going to show you the finished product and how to put it together. This is the finished tumbler. This is for a Christmas exchange. I'm not even going to fiddle with my other camera right now. I know I'm kind of crooked, but it's okay. And then this is the metal part of the pen. This is the one with all the sunflowers straight up. And this one is with the sunflowers against a boarded fence or something that's kind of gray. Okay, I'm going to show you how to put those back together. Now, you got to put your pen back together. If it came out like mine did, there is a slot right here. There's a slot right there that has to line up with your handle. Okay, so you're going to put your slot, line it up, put it all the way down, make sure it's inside there, and then you're going to take the tip of your pen and you are going to kind of like give it a little, you get be a little forceful sometimes. Oh, well, it helps if your pen's all the way down there. So we're going to screw the cap on just like this. And now you have a brand new sublimation pen with a design that a customer may like. I'm trying to get the seam a little in line with the handle. I didn't do it with this one, but I did it with the dragon one. I don't know how I messed that up, but I did. And then my other pen, I'm going to go, ooh, I just took the spring off of this one. So I'm going to put the spring back on. And we're going to put this one together. Like I said, line it up with this. So in the future, I will try to line it up a little bit better with the handle part of it, with the seam. Put the seam with the, whoops, put the seam along with your little notch there, and nobody will notice it. Well, except for us, or whoever sublimates, of course. And then we're going to do that again. And you have your pen. And it's complete. So your pens are done. Your tumbler is done. And it's nice. There's no ghosting. There's no... You'll notice the seam because we try to be perfect, but we're not going to be perfect. But the seam isn't really all that noticeable unless you point it out. And that's it. So that was part 2. Thank you for joining us here at Unlocked Crafts. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. See y'all later. Adios.